Do you know how ancient peoples, or sometimes peoples living in perhaps more exotic places than our own, will treat certain places, possibly certain objects, as haunted? Sort of deities or spirits interact with those places, and you don't just want to do anything there because you might disturb something that doesn't want to be disturbed. Well, along comes Judeo-Christian philosophy and their understanding of God as the creator of the whole universe and as present in the whole universe. And it's as if this sort of haunted house idea of ancient peoples takes over the whole world, and the whole world becomes a haunted house. It's a haunted world. No matter where you go, whether it's this room, whether you're out on the street, or whether you're anywhere in a board meeting up on the 100th floor of a skyscraper, it's all haunted with the God of the Bible. Well, what has happened in the past 100 years is this idea of these spaces being haunted has been criticized to the point that now we don't ever hardly think of the places that we inhabit as being also inhabited by spirit. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb, better known as Mike, and this is Conspiracy Commentaries. Dallas Willard's The Divine Conspiracy, certainly one of the best books that was written in the 20th century, late 20th century, and we're reading it here with you, section by section, just helping you get a little deeper into the book. Now, if you are interested in Dallas Willard, or if you just want to support what we do here in Europe, there are many ways that you can make a donation to our various nonprofit organizations. We have one that's based in North America, and we have one that's based here in Europe, in Germany. And if you make a donation of 25 euros or more, we have a free book, Something to Say, a comprehensive bibliography of Dallas Willard that we'd love to send you. Now, if you live outside of the United States or Europe, do contact us first, and we'll see if we can actually ship it to you. But we want to, and we have these for you, and yeah, it really helps us. We're a donor-based organization, and it keeps these sorts of things happening on YouTube. Now, this section here, we're going to deal with this for the next 4 videos. It's a larger section called Space Inhabited by God, and today a little section called Spirit and Space for me on page 74. I find it really difficult to work with this because Dallas seems to be talking about something but not really naming it. He's talking about some things, but he's not using he's not using the technical words for it, which may be helpful for some people, but it's hard for me to really get who or what he's talking about. But I think I've got it figured out. At no place, I think, does our contemporary mindset more strongly conflict with the life and good news of Jesus than over the understanding of space. And that's a superlative there. At no place more strongly. Now, what he has in mind here, I'm pretty sure, is materialism, secularism, naturalism, the idea that everything that we have around us is just matter. There's hardly anything there, and the idea that has sunk so deep in our culture that even religious people don't recognize it. We don't recognize it anymore. And so what he wants to say is we have to get out of this mindset in order to figure out how God is also here. And there are two ways, however, which we have, I guess, tried to sort of fit our Western philosophy, our Christian inheritance into this sort of secular contemporary mindset. Okay? 2 ways. And he's going to talk about both of them. The first is he calls confusing God with his historical manifestations in space. This is very interesting because actually Dallas has been talking about God's historical manifestations in space, but this idea of confusing him with those historical manifestations makes us think of God as something fairly localized, something a lot more like those local deities that I was talking about in the introduction to this video. So we have this idea of local deities, him, something being manifested in a particular place in the heavens, and but then we look all over the world and we just can't find those local places. We can't find those local places. So we get the idea that maybe God, well, he must be somewhere way, way far off, sort of out there somewhere beyond all this matter that we are surrounded with. The second way, which is a way of taking spirit out of space, is to think of God as not sort of far off, but in our hearts. Now, Dallas doesn't say who he has in mind here, but I'm pretty sure he has in mind somebody like John Robinson. Here's his book, Honest to God, here. We've talked about him before. He was a part of the secular Christianity movement and the God is Dead movement. It's a little bit passé, but he's drawing a lot on this guy, Paul Tillich. Here's his systematic theology here. And Paul Tillich was a kind of existentialist theologian, had taken a lot from European philosophy and theology. So the kind of materialist, sort of empirical sort of ideas that you get out of John A.T. Robinson aren't quite as present in Paul Tillich. But Paul Tillich still tries to talk about God as the ground of our being. It's an interesting move. He wants to connect God with ultimate reality, and ultimate reality he doesn't really want to argue for. He just wants to say, well, we are, so ultimate reality must also be, and haha, that's God. Now, John Robinson sort of takes that and runs with it, probably in some directions that Tillich wasn't so happy about. They probably knew each other, so maybe there is some interaction between the two. But this idea of God being the ground of our being, he's there somehow in our hearts, which sounds a lot like a personal relationship with Jesus, and probably should, because I think that the people today who are most likely to not see God in the space around them, but see him primarily in some sort of interior, sort of human activity, are people who are maybe evangelical Christians who are interested in a personal relationship with Jesus, and that Jesus is somehow connected just only with their private spirituality, and he doesn't really have much of an existence outside of them and that interior kind of life. Well, that may be just as a warning. I'm not trying to scare anybody, but this is something that's really quite serious, and I just want to call your attention to a footnote at the end, footnote number 12, which is in the last paragraph. Dallas there is going to talk about a man, Fosdick. Here's three of his books, and his book, The Meaning of Faith. Actually, I haven't read this book. It's gigantic, and that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't touched it. But Fosdick is an old, actually kind of liberal Christian, but he kind of gets this idea that God has to be in space as a person, and he kind of argues against some of the more, other liberal interpretations in which God is just connected with interiority of some sort, or a personal relationship with Jesus. Well, that might be giving away a bit too much. So sorry not to throw a bunch of terms at you, but I'm trying to get deeper into this just myself. And so just be thinking naturalism, secularism, that's the contemporary mindset. And with respect to God, you know, a lot of these are not dealing with God as a person. So personalism is a big deal here for Dallas Willard, as well as essentialism as opposed to existentialism. So I don't know if that helps any of you. If it doesn't, just ignore me today. And I don't know. We'll see you next time. Do look to see if you can't subscribe to our almost monthly newsletter over at Sanctus.Institute and see while you're there whether you can't make a contribution, Sanctus.Institute/friends, and get a free book. Bye.